Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 985. Directed by Katsumi Tokoro and supervised by Kazuya Hisada. In the past, previews for the show have ranged from showing almost too much to keeping its secrets close to its chest so the full episode will end up surprising people. And all I can say is that I hope 985 ends up on the latter end of the spectrum because the preview really doesn't want to show much and it shows a bit less than normal at that. So it's hard to make any more predictions going in other than what I had upon reading the staff list. The promise of more Zoro filler and the fact that the main action is outright not shown gives me hope for what it has in store, but this time around we're really going to have to dig in head first to truly see what Tokoro and co have cooked up for us this week. So will episode 985 manage to surprise me after its secretive preview? Time to punch down on the festival and find out. This episode covers pages 9 through 14 of chapter 979 and the first 5 pages of chapter 980, and is an episode that relies pretty heavily on filler because the manga content itself is actually a pretty small part of it in retrospect. Whether it be filler with Zoro running amok trying to find Luffy or more dialogue and scenes of the kid pirates infiltrating that already surpasses the amount of dialogue they had in the manga, this episode concerns itself greatly with showing you what everyone else is up to, while also continuing from last episode's filler with characters like Zoro and giving us a taste of what the manga didn't. And while there may still be a bit too many Tama flashbacks that I'm comfortable with because I feel like the point got across within the first few, it's pretty decently paced all things considered and provides a very different outlook on how things turned out. Even going as far as to add a scene of Luffy eating the trash and unwanted red bean soup before he gets angry and comes down on them all, which I think works for the slower pace that the anime is natively at and works for Luffy's overall character better in my opinion. Sure, some people may not be able to shake the fact that it covers very little in regards to actual manga content, so it might end up feeling slow to them, but I found this episode another consistent effort in regards to making Onigashima a much different experience in the anime and a better one at that. Not going over the speed limit like Oda did, but instead pumping the brakes to allow this big raid to essentially feel like it should. While nowhere near as experimental or vibrant as the board that came before it, Tokoro's board is pretty serviceable all in all, mostly concerning itself with tiny hints of scale wherever it's needed, which helps the episode feel more dynamic in areas, along with general compositions that don't feel flat or boring and are instead just good. It's nothing to really write home about, and the general compositing applied to it isn't either, aside from the more saturated colors that are given to Luffy's attack, but it's the level of quality that I expect from Tokoro to begin with, and it's not an absolute chore to look at, so I'd consider it a pass in my book, despite how many awkward shots it may try to reuse. And when supervisor Kazuya Hisada is the main driving force behind it, making it more visually appealing, with his looser and angular corrections that are once again fully back on track and work exceptionally well on characters like Kaido, Sasaki, and Who's Who, standing right next to the wacky inflatable arm-flailing man himself NAOTOSHI Shida with his first Wano scene in well over a year, that is very textbook him in terms of its style and board but still brings home the intense force of Luffy's attack all the same, 985 is a pretty good episode. It's surely a bit lesser in comparison to some previous episodes, even with its highest highs, but when the adaptation is simply more of what I expect and want from this arc and the visuals weren't too shabby either, I can't really be disappointed. Especially when we're also given the preview for next week's episode 986, which looks pretty damn cool as well as sounding pretty damn cool on paper. As Nagamine's mentor Shigeyasu Yamauchi is actually full on directing this episode following him only doing a board on episode 939, and he's already bringing an interesting flair and sense of scale to the action that has grabbed me almost immediately. And with 2 newer supervisors to the series in form of OG webgen animator Majuro and the mysterious Lee, who we still haven't managed to find out the identity of, as well as animators like Fei Hong and certainly more that will be participating, 986 should end up being one hell of a way to kick off the main fighting in Onigashima in a special way. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and hey look, another wild Matsuda correction.